Hey guys, Rick here, welcome back to the bench. Today we're going to be doing a review of something that people have been asking for a long time, and that would be this, the CZ P10F. Let's hit it. So, the CZ P10F is the full-size version of the popular CZ P10C. That's right. F for full size, C for compact. No remembering your model numbers and trying to remember which one is the freaking full size, which one is the compact. So, first up the basics. The CZ P10F comes with a 4.5-inch barrel, two 19-round magazines. It comes with a plate on top of the slide, no optics plates. This is a big deal that we'll be getting into in a little bit. It's 7.8 inches long, 5.5 inches tall, 1.26 inches wide, and comes in at about 30 ounces. Now, you heard me right when I said that it comes with two 19-round magazines, and you can see the grip on this thing is pretty healthy. It is a big grip. In my tiny little child hands, I have plenty of grip sticking out the side of this thing. Now, that being said, it doesn't bother me a whole lot because actually, if I build my full firing grip, you can see that my pinky still has gun to grab onto, and it actually doesn't get pinched or anything by the magazine. Now, with the magazine, this is a stock base plate, fully inserted. The magazine does extend the bottom of it just a little bit. It's not a whole lot, but it does make it just a little bit bigger. But again, with the magazine fully inserted, you can see that there is still plenty of grip there for my pinky finger to be able to grab onto, so I'm not pinching myself like I would with some other smaller framed firearms. There's plenty of frame on this gun. Other features of the P10F are an ambidextrous slide release, CZ's very nice striker-fired trigger. Now the P10F does not come with the ambidextrous mag release like the earlier P10Cs came with. In the P10F and the newer P10Cs, they have swapped that because the release style that the early Cs used made the mag release pretty stiff. I actually have an entire video trying to relieve that, and it took quite a bit of work to make it so that it wasn't an issue. Well, with the P10F and the newer Cs, they just said screw it all together. We're just going to run a straight up swappable rather than trying to get the ambidextrous in there. And for the most part, that's okay. A lot of the left-handed shooters just use their pointer finger to release the magazine rather than their thumb. That's what they're used to, so it's not that big of a deal for them. Now, this is the optics ready version. The optics ready version does not come with optics plates like a lot of the other popular optics ready versions do. Obviously, the Glock MOS system comes with plates. Even the Masada that comes in at less money than the P10F comes with optics plates. So that lack of optics plates really kind of shades what kind of a value you're getting with the P10F. Remember, you're going to end up having to spend between $40 and $80 on an optics plate, depending on where you get it. I will have sources for those in the links down in the description below. But it doesn't come with optics plates. It does just come with a cover plate on the top of it. It's installed, it matches very nice, it's very nice, and it's 100% usable as a stock gun with its included night sights. Now these night sights are an orange highlighted sight up front with a tritium dot and a 100% blacked out rear, which is more or less the way that I like them. My problem with these sights, however, is that these are stock, like just standard height sights on an optics ready model, which means no co-witness. For a gun that comes from the factory with the intention of putting a dot on it, I really wish CZ had put some co-witnessing height sights on here. Now, they do sell co-witnessing height sights, but they are only available in a combination pack with other mounting plates for the optic from CZ USA from their website. So that's the only place you can get them. You cannot buy these sights one-offs. There are a couple of companies looking into producing sights for the P10F, but because of CZ's weird fascination with different sight cuts for every freaking model they produce, the P10F Optics Ready and C Optics Readies, those are the same, but they don't share sight compatibility with any other CZ model or any other brand. So for now, you're going to end up either being SOL or you're going to have to get that optics plate combo from CZ USA. Next, let's talk shootability a little bit. I have run this gun for an entire season of USPSA. I've run it every time I go out testing things. I put rounds through this. This gun has well over 2,000 rounds through it now. I know that doesn't seem like a lot to like the dedicated competition shooter guys, but I'm not a dedicated competition shooter. And I wanted to, but I still want to get a lot of rounds through these things before I talk to you guys about them, because sometimes the little finicky things don't come out until you get enough rounds through them. So the P10F has been 100% flawless. I have never had a non-ammo related malfunction with this gun. I did get some bad ammo in one of my packs. It was a local reman ammo place. Their stuff has been good up to that point, and after that point it's just I got a bad batch of it. No big deal, but it fired every round. This is also the ammo that threw my PO1 for a loop, but wasn't like primer strikes or anything. It just, they were underpowered loads, so they weren't squibs, but it wasn't quite enough to be able to get the shell all the way out and a new round loaded, so I ended up with a failure to feed a couple of times. But I ran through that, and I've continued to run that ammo. I've run a metric crap ton of different ammos through, I've run PMC Winchester White Box, Blazer Brass, I've run the Federal 150 grain Syntec, I've run hollow points from Gold Dot to Hornady to Winchester PDX, and this thing has eaten everything that I have thrown at it. It is extremely reliable, and I wouldn't expect anything less from CZ. Now, as far as usability goes, firing this gun. So recoil impulse on the P10F, I would place somewhere between a Glock 17 and a Glock 34. It definitely has more recoil. It's a little bit snappier than a Glock 34. That being said, it is more controllable and easier to bring back onto target than a Glock 17. Like, enough that my lame-ass shooter can feel it. I can feel the difference in speed between those two guns. And I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure if it's the ergonomics. They do have an extremely nice beaver tail back here to be able to really grip and pull your hand up into. The Glocks tend to not have that. Their grip is set further back, and their beaver tail isn't quite as far down, but I always feel like that little, the less ledge that a Glock has, I get slide bite with Glocks. I can't chalk up on them nearly as much as I can with a P10F. I can get all the way up there, don't have to worry about slide bite, and I can really cinch down on the firearm when I'm going with. Now, when I use the term cinch down, I don't mean that I'm gripping hard. I mean that I'm gripping in a way that the firearm is locked into my hand. And one of the things that supports that is the awesome grip texturing on the P10F. The CZ P10 series has a grip texturing that is not well matched in the industry. There aren't a lot of other manufacturers that have done grip texturing quite as well as CZ has in this case, at least in my opinion. A lot of people think that it's a little bit too rough. I disagree. I love how rough it is, and again, it lets me grip my pistol in a way that I can actually lock it into my grip and control that recoil a little bit easier because it's locked in. I don't have to grip and squeeze really hard. It's just locked in. And that's one of the attributes that makes it so controllable with the CZ grip angle, the ergonomics. Now, this is not traditional 75 ergonomics. Do not buy the P10F and expect to feel like you're holding a CZ 75 in your hand. That's not it. The ergonomics on this gun are completely different, and it's especially fitting for people with smaller hands. The guys with bigger hands tend to not like the grip of the P10 quite as much, mostly because this distance from here to here doesn't change with your back straps. Your back straps only change back here, the contour back here, so they bulk it out a little bit more, or they'll make it a little bit thinner. This one is the small back strap, and the small back strap works really well for me because it allows me to really lock that in. So it is really nice for people with a little bit smaller hands. The trigger on the P10s are, you know, I cannot say enough good about the trigger on the P10. as far as stock triggers go. I've kept this trigger 100% bone stock. Specifically for this review, I didn't want to give you guys a review of a modified gun. Now, yes, I do have a dot on top of it, but again, this is the optics ready model. That's what this gun is built for, is to run a dot on top of. But the trigger on it is 100% serviceable, up into the point where there's not really a reason to modify it. Now, I will modify it. I'm going to modify it. Gear review is one of the things that I do, and I don't feel like I can give you guys a solid review of some of the products if I don't test them all. So I've got a trigger in my P10C. This will be getting a trigger. I've got another trigger coming in, but it's not to necessarily like. It's not because I don't like the trigger in the P10s, it's because you guys are all interested in these additional triggers, and I feel like I need to check these out for you guys, especially because I get the majority of these at least a reduced cost. So I would rather take that, throw it in my gun, test it out, let you guys know if it's worth spending the money on, rather than you guys having to go out, find out, and then you're out all the money and yada yada. But the stock trigger in the P10, there ain't nothing wrong with it. It is fantastic as far as stock polymer striker guns go. The take-up isn't short or anything. It's just pretty crisp as far as polymer triggers go. So the take-up, it's got maybe 3/8 of an inch of take-up, and then you hit a pretty heavy wall, and then a little bit of pull, and that wall breaks. Let's go ahead and run a trigger pull gauge on this really quick, and I'll let you guys know what the stock trigger pulls are on this. It was 4.5 pounds. So, I mean, I guess technically it is a pretty light trigger. It doesn't feel super light when you're running it, but I think that's because of that wall. My preferred trigger profile is take up, heavy wall, break. That's just the way I like it. I know a lot of guys like just a rolling break where you don't feel the wall. I like feeling the wall. I like being able to predict my triggers, and the P10F has a very predictable trigger. You know what that trigger is going to do. On the P10C, we had a lot of problems early on with what you would call break-in. And it's not firing break-in. Most of them worked pretty well out of the box, but things like mag releases, the slide release, all seemed to need to break in to break some of the edges off to make them a little bit easier to use. The P10Fs don't seem to need that. The slide release has always been relatively easy. The mag release has always been buttery smooth compared to the P10C. It's a nice, very simple mag release, to the point of being very Glock-like in its ease of pushing it. Now, you did notice there, that's one thing that's not Glock-like. Those mags are drop-free. The metal mags are fantastic. CZ makes some freaking tough-ass mags, or should I say Mechgar does. But they are drop-free. I have only had a mag not drop-free once, and it popped out enough that I could grab and strip it, but the magazines are just fantastic. On this one, I actually have a +2 that I'm testing from HBI. I'm trying to find a good setup for my USPSA rig, and HBI sent me a few of these +2s that I can put on there, which, when inserted in, give you a little bit more of a lip, but I mean, it's really not that much when you're talking about 21 rounds of ammo. 21 rounds. And I think with a little modification, I can get 22 in here. And these things are like 20 bucks a piece compared to some of the metal options that are up in the $40, $50 price range. Now, let's go to accuracy really quick. CZ has always been relatively known for its accuracy. They make really good guns, really accurate guns. The P10F is no exception to that rule. When I took this thing out with Builder Shooter, from around 20 yards, I was able to pull about a 1.5 inch group with this gun. And I'm not that good of a shot, guys. I'm really not. But this thing just makes it easy. Especially with the dot on top. Like, the dot has improved my shooting greatly, but still, to get that kind of accuracy out of a pistol, like, this was just offhand shooting. I was just up there screwing around, seeing what I could hit, and I got about an 1.5 inch group. So, even the barrel on these things don't need replaced. I was complaining to the Humble Marksman a month or so ago that CZ, the P10 line, has made it so that I don't have an excuse to buy a cool titanium nitrided barrel. Like, the only two excuses I have is, hey, it looks kind of cool and it's threaded. Like, I can't buy a non-threaded version and expect it to be more accurate than the already fantastically accurate barrel that's in this damn thing. Freaking CZ. Now, it does come with a Picatinny rail up here with 2 little slots. Works fine for lights and stuff. If you want to carry this thing as a duty pistol, have at it. This thing can run, it can do everything you need to do, and again, it's got 19 rounds in the magazine. It's only a little bit bigger than a Glock 17 with 2 additional rounds in the mag. That's pretty good for a service pistol. So, let's go into a couple of the pros and cons. Pros. The initial price of this gun is around like 500 bucks right now. I got mine for a little bit more than that, but that's because I got mine like right when they came out. A con that's attached to that is, with that $500 price, you do not get an optics plate, so you are going to be spending another $40 to $80 on that optics plate. This particular optics plate is from CNH. It is around $65, I believe. I'll post a link in the description down below for that, but so far this is my favorite optics plate. It does a fantastic job at molding the stock slide into the optic. It covers the base of the optic completely. There is no optic hanging off the side of that plate, which means it's completely sealed. The fit was very nice and solid, and I just love this optics plate. I love the way that it fills the gap. If you guys haven't seen a lot of the other CZ optics plates, they don't fill that gap, so there's just a big hole in front of the optic. CNH takes care of that. But you are going to spend the money on it, so that's already bringing your price of your firearm up around $560. In addition to that, yes, it comes with 19 round mags, but again, you're going to pay for these mags. Magazines for these right now are hovering right around $30 to $33 a piece. So in order to get enough mags to run a USPSA, you're going to have to buy 2 more. You're going to be spending another $60 compared to something like a Glock that comes with 3, and then you can buy a new one for like 15 or 20 bucks. So $60 more there. Now we're up to about $620 for a competition ready package, not including the dot. Another pro is it comes with fantastic stock sights. They aren't fiber optic, which I'm fine with. I don't prefer fiber optic necessarily. It's got a nice high-vis front with a single tritium vial, a completely blacked out rear, which is preferred especially in daytime and low light shooting. In nighttime shooting, you don't have that tritium vial in the back, but really, let's be honest, if you're focusing on the tritium that much, you probably can't see enough to shoot anyway. But I digress. Again though, another con attached to that, these sights are stock height sights. They are not co-witnessing height sights. So with the optic, you are going to have to figure out some way to get new sights on it, or you're just not going to have irons. One thing that I do think is a con is the size. It is a very big gun. This grip is gigantic, and most people are not going to be able to conceal this. Now, a Glock 17 is small enough, it's just on that verge area, but most people could at least get away with a little bit of printing maybe, but they could probably conceal it. Not this guy. With this thing, probably a good 85% of people aren't going to be able to conceal a P10F. That's just the way it is. It's a big gun. Now, it's not really meant to be concealed, but if that's what you're looking for, I'd head over to the P10C. Now, again, for me, a very big major positive is this grip texturing. I absolutely love the grip texturing on this thing. It's nice in the front and the back, right where you need it. Not a whole lot of extra on the sides, but you don't need the sides that much. It's very ergonomic feeling. It does fit in your hand significantly better than the majority of the other polymer competition that you're gonna find. Now, with that being said, another con that's attached to that is it does have a pretty small mag well in it, and sometimes getting magazines in there can be a little bit difficult. Mine is all banged up from misfeeds. You can see how it pinches together a little bit. Now, it pinches together so that you can actually get to the sides of your magazine to strip it. Something that Glock apparently didn't figure out until it was too late, and they came out with that damn half moon thing in the front. But CZ got that figured out, but they didn't flare the mag well at all. And for this type of a gun, for the purpose that I use this for anyway, I would have really liked a little bit of magazine well flaring down here in the grip area, especially with the size of the grip and all this real estate they had to work with. So some people may think it's a con, but I actually think it's a pro. The swappable magazine release, as opposed to the ambidextrous one, I like the swappable. The end product was just better. Another pro is the amazing accuracy of this gun. It is crazy accurate, like to the point where you are never going to outshoot this gun. The limiting factor will always be you. Now, probably the biggest con for having this, especially if you're planning to carry it or if you're planning to shoot it in USPSA, is the lack of aftermarket. The P10F just hasn't caught on aftermarket-wise quite enough to be able to have a wide variety of usable things. Magazines, you've only got your one option for magazines, and that is actual CZ magazines. Holsters are very difficult to find. There's only a handful of people out there making competition holsters for the P10 series. And obviously the optics plates, there's like 3 or 4 different places, maybe 5 or 6, that make the optics plates for that. I'll post as many as I can down in the comments down below to give you guys the options that you want, but you are going to be spending between $40 to $80 on those things. So that's just something to remember and calculate in when you're looking at the total lifespan cost of these guns. So that's it, guys. That is the review, finally, of the CZ P10F optics ready model. My preferred competition gun for USPSA as of late, and honestly, quickly becoming one of my favorite guns to shoot. Laser accuracy combined with that dot just makes this thing a blast, and it makes you look damn good doing it. Remember, guys, if you found this video useful, go ahead and like and subscribe down below. If you like what we do here on the channel and you want to help out a little bit, go over to our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/workthetrigger. You can get a little bit of extra content over there, but mostly it just goes back to help us here. Check out the channel every other week for a live stream that we do, where you guys can hop in and talk to me and a couple other shooters. Remember, guys, I appreciate every one of you, and until next time, do your research, get informed, and get to work.